Welcome back to FANSPLAINED, a media criticism podcast with Ryan and Em. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Em.
And in this episode, as you can hear by Em's absolute enthusiasm, we are back at it again at Krispy Kreme with the Netflix universe.
No, Iron Fist doesn't deserve Krispy Kreme.
And Iron Fist Season 1. This is part of the Netflix lead into The Defenders, unfortunately, and takes place in MCU 2016. As it follows everything else, there is no argument that it is in the wrong order this time.
Nope.
Okay, so it was produced by Marvel Television and Netflix, as usual, and released in March of 2017. You had all that extra time to make this show, and you just flubbed it.
You still mucked it up.
It was 13 episodes too long, and follows all of the Netflix seasons released prior. Like, I know that this one's going to be a little relentlessly negative, and I'm sure that there is somebody who actually does adore this show, so...
Well, my question for them is, why?
But I don't like objectively being like, well, this sucked, and you suck for liking this thing that sucked. Like, if you enjoy it, great. We really didn't.
I don't understand why. That's
and
all
we're
I
just going
say.
to... We analyze it straight up because of the merits of it. And just because we don't like it doesn't mean we don't like anybody who does like it. But I do, yes, question why. Because it was just a lot.
Yeah, it was not a good time.
It was not a good time. We did get through it quicker than Daredevil Season 2, though.
And this is the second time that I've had to watch this piece of shit.
I've never watched it before.
Yeah, you never watched it.
Nope.
The only thing keeping me alive during this whole experience was seeing
your
me
misery. Getting mad about things, yeah.
Yes.
So
I rejoiced in your misery of watching this.
Wow,
too.
you had to subsist on Schadenfreude.
Yes.
So the show also included various writers and directors, and the showrunner and creator of this one was, or at least the showrunner, he might not have been the creator, I don't remember. So don't quote me on that part, actually. But the showrunner was Scott Buck, and Buck's other work included some episodes of Rome. How in comparison to this show did you do Rome? But then he was also the showrunner of Inhumans, which I feel like explains everything. They tried
cursed show. Don't keep mentioning that.
It's not my fault that it keeps coming up.
Boo.
So this show tried to do this thing where it was supposed to be like, it was trying to be as socially relevant as all of the rest of them, right? Like, it was really, really trying.
Spoilers, it failed.
Yeah, because they described it as taking a look at the, quote, 1% of the 1%. Which, I'm sorry, but could you make this any more boring?
Yes, they did, actually.
Like, oh, you're gonna tell me that you're looking at the elite of the already elite who have no cognizant understanding of anyone around them, and I'm just supposed to, oh, great, love this. I don't, actually. Each episode was named for a Shaolin Kung Fu sequence. It didn't deserve that. Shaolin deserved to be disassociated with this entire show.
Yes.
And they tried to liken this show to a mystery because Danny has to prove who he is without any proof of who he is. So they're like, well, because this one's the Western and this one's the noir and this one's like the ninja lawyer stuff. Actually, this one's our mystery.
Actually, it's none of them.
It's none of these things. None of them. And it's not a compelling mystery in any way because the show is not about Danny.
And then on top of that, manages to be insulting to every bit of actual kung fu film or TV show.
It's because I am convinced that this show, like the writing of it, did not understand the differences between the cultures that they were depicting. Like, this show comes off as just, like, even if you take all of, like, the internet's discussion of Finn's race when cast, put that aside for a second, this show is still inarguably racist all the time. Because it's associating all Asian cultures as this big grouping of things that can just be interchanged with each other. Finn's over here, like, Danny's over here white-splaining everything to actual Asian people.
Yep.
He's the one who takes over the Chosen One role from literally his friend who should have deserved it more when Danny didn't even actually want it. Like,
there was literally a scene where they had this dialogue when Colleen's like, well, I don't do kung fu, I teach karate. And I was just waiting. I even told you, I was waiting for Danny to be like, it's pronounced karate, Colleen.
Well, it's because, like, I know I brought this up when we were watching it. They do try and frame this, ironically, on The Matrix a little bit. Because they have, like, there's this scene where they're in, like, the mental institution, and oh god, do I hate this show's depiction of mental health, let me tell you what. That was so triggering. I had a really hard time with the institution episode. Like, I had a really hard time with it.
And actually, Danny ends up being the first superhero in the MCU to basically be forced in the mental institution.
I know, and I hate it because it was not done well at all.
We're not counting David because he,
doesn't technically count here.
Yeah, he doesn't technically count right now.
But also happened a little after this, I think.
Yeah.
But there's this point where they're trying to gaslight Danny into thinking he was someone else because he used a false identity to get back into the country.
Yes.
After, you know, his parents had died and he was like this, you know, 11-year-old kid who was raised by monks and then thrust back into the real world or whatever. So he uses this fake identity as it's not the same name from The Matrix, it's another J name and then Anderson attached to it.
Yeah.
And I kept expecting people to, like, give you this, hello, Mr. Anderson shit. Because they really kept trying to gaslight him into thinking this is his name, and I'm like, yeah, The Matrix did this as a more nuanced conversation of dead naming.
Yeah.
It's not as cute when you're just using it as but I just used it as, like, a fake name to get back into the country or whatever. But, like, I really half expected Danny to just come out with, a fake Keanu delivery of, I know Kung Fu.
I mean,
so I could have been like, bitch, no, you don't.
He very could have easily done that.
But I kept expecting him to do it because they kept pulling, like, these weird little Matrix references on top of the fact that this is the one that has Carrie-Anne Moss in it the most.
Yes.
Like, the side actors in this show don't deserve this show.
The side actors in this show pull more weight than the lead do.
Literally everyone.
Everyone.
It's irritating, but, like, it feels just so, just casually racist all the time, and Finn, like, if you ever want to argue that any MCU superhero is a white savior, it is Danny Rand. At least the way that they depict Danny.
Yeah,
he's absolutely coming in as a white savior fucking constantly. I can't stand it.
I feel like it's less that in the comics because Iron Fist is pretty popular in the comics. Also, Danny's writing seems to be far more nuanced from what I have seen.
Also,
but
I'm pretty sure that the comics also take a better view on, you know, the culture that it's trying to depict. I mean, like, that, I haven't read a lot of it, so to be fair, I could be very wrong about that, but
I feel like you're spot on in saying this depiction of Danny is just really abysmal and lacks a lot of understanding and nuance.
It's because Danny constantly comes off as that same 11-year-old who never grew up.
Like,
and
every
he has
time
this complete 11-year-old understanding of the world, like, well, but I'm rich and I'm white, so I just know everything.
Like, he has these little...
I can't stand it.
He has these little tantrums, and he snaps at people, and he shakes, and he...
It's so irritating. It's like,
It's irritating, and it's embarrassing to watch.
And on top of that, like, he's constantly like, no, I'm Zen, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a whatever.
No, you're not.
And he's trying to do, like, this whole namaste thing, and it's like, but you can't balance anything because you are not balanced. You are a chaotic dumbass who doesn't listen to anybody, acts out of anger fucking constantly. There was literally a point where, like, his chi didn't work anymore. One, chi doesn't work like that in the first place. But his chi didn't work anymore because he was so angry. And it's like, he's literally been doing things out of anger the entire show up until now. Why did it suddenly change?
Because guess what?
Because the story demanded it.
Because the writing is that inconsistent everywhere.
It's so frustrating. And it starts to seep out to the other characters around him, and it just... no one more so than Joy. Because
Joy,
she'll come in
man.
and be like completely competent 1 minute, and then we'll turn around and undermine herself the next minute, and then we'll blame it on Danny the next minute when she was doing it for Danny the first minute. Like, it's just...
Her writing, she's probably the most inconsistent character that we've seen yet.
Yeah, she was like Misty Knight for me.
It's like
but
every episode...
she didn't have a purpose for it.
It's like every episode she was changing alliances, she had zero loyalty, she had zero motivation.
Which makes, like, the whole reveal at the end not that shocking, because I just don't care.
Because I'm
right?
like,
I just don't care.
So this is just another thing for her.
Great, cool.
Now you all of a sudden you hate him again.
Right. Like, none of this makes sense, and I hate it. The show should have been about Colleen.
Yes.
The end. It would have been a lot more...
it would have been better.
It would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot more respectful. It would have been a lot less casually racist. But again, we know how Loeb feels about Asian people. We discussed that in Daredevil Season 2.
Yep.
Ironically, this is the one that showcases Gao the most, and also probably the most stereotypically. Yeah. Which is a shame, because I really like her character.
Yeah, Madame Gao is pretty badass. And I wish
and the show still kind of makes her just kind of flailing around and stupid.
I wish we could get an actual show with her being...
cool?
You know, yeah, and the cool big baddie like she was framed as.
Yeah, but no, she still has to, oh no, I'm still not the one pulling the strings on everything, sorry, haha.
No, it's Colleen's, sensei with that very weird voice and pronunciation.
Yeah, Colleen's weird cult.
Yeah.
Like, I did like once you got to the point where Danny and Colleen are both fighting with each other about who's more fucked up, essentially.
Yeah.
And then both having to come to realize that they're both processing cult brainwashing as children.
Yeah, they were both brainwashed.
And, like, I actually really liked that, but it took 9 episodes of a 13-episode show to even remotely get to a point where there was a point to the show.
Yeah. Like, that was the one thing in the writing. That and, Ward's writing.
Ward's writing was actually really good, and I didn't expect it to be, because he irritated the hell out of me
I know he did, and that's why I was like...
Because he was such a Chad at the beginning, I'm just like, stop, I hate him.
And I was just like, no, you're gonna like him by the end.
Yeah, I did. So, my summary of this show, honestly, would be that it's not about Iron Fist at all, it's about the Meachums.
Yeah, it's really not
End
about
of the
Iron
show.
Fist.
Essentially, you have these two families who were super rich, and they started a Oscorp-esque company named after Danny's family, Rand Industries or whatever, and Rand Enterprises. Rand whatever. It's like Stark Industries, right? It's got the big name on it, it's really egotistical, It's run by a bunch of rich people.
It's a second-tier Stark Industries, basically.
Yeah, basically. And you have these two families, and there was a lot of discord, and the kids didn't get along, whatever. And so, when Danny is 11, his parents are going out to China somewhere, and their plane starts going down, and his parents die, and he is the sole survivor of this, and we could have really dug into survivor's guilt, and we don't.
Not really. There was an attempt, and
there was an attempt, and it was bad.
It was a very poor attempt. Mm-hmm. Just like all the traumatic flashbacks have that
Oh
stupid...
god. I felt like I was watching an early 2000s, like, action girl movie.
No, I felt like I was watching a VHS tape that needed tracking
That too.
That's what that
effect was. It was way too try-hard. It wasn't great.
It was awful.
So, like, Danny's the sole survivor. He gets raised by these monks that you think are from the Himalayas, but they're actually from an alternate magical dimension, which is, again, one of those, like, Asian mysticism garbage things.
It feels like a pocket universe.
That's what it's theoretically supposed to be, but they don't explain it like that.
They
Finn
don't.
Just sound, like, I keep interchangeably saying Finn and Danny, but Danny explains it like he's just a crazy guy, and everyone assumes he's just crazy.
Yeah, and the show doesn't do a good job of showing it, let alone explaining it.
No, because the budget on this one actually makes it look like it is the ABC show. It looks like it has an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. budget, not a Netflix budget.
Yeah, so I am left
to compare it to the look of all of the other shows we've looked at previously, even the bad parts of Daredevil, and this still looks like a cheap comparison.
So I'm just basically left to infer what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm left to infer all this other shit that happens based purely on what I understand of storytelling and writing, because, by God, the show doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, so basically the Iron Fist is this thing that you, like, have to be given by a dragon in a cave, and getting it basically means that you have to defend the entrance to this mystical pocket dimension, which is apparently only open once every so many years. So why does it need a constant 24/7 defender? I don't know. Whatever. The show, again, is less about Iron Fist and more about the Meachums and their dad, who died of cancer, coming back to life because of the resurrection machine that we saw in Daredevil Season 2.
Yeah.
As a result of the hand. And the Iron Fist is supposed to, he's the sworn enemy of the hand, or whatever. Like, it's just not good. It's just not good because all of the subplots were more interesting than the main plot.
Did they show him punching out the heart of the dragon?
No.
Oh. I guess I imagined that then.
I don't remember it. Who knows?
No.
Anyway, like, I don't really know how else to summarize it. It's about this really rich kid who cannot acclimate back to real life when he comes back to reality.
It's supposed to be about this legendary fighter, and you can't do that because the main actor didn't do any of the fucking work, so you literally had to take a series that was supposed to be about a legendary fighter and make it about everybody else.
Yeah, it's about boardrooms and big pharma and Rand Industries being the equivalent of, like, Amazon or something, I don't know. So, primary actors, you have Finn Jones as Danny Rand. Mm-hmm. Probably the singularly worst casting decision they've made. And I like Finn Jones and other things, but he was such a bad fit for this show.
He was absolutely a bad fit for this. They should have gotten someone who had experience doing fighting films or martial arts, and definitely should have gotten someone who would have actually put in the time to train.
Yeah, which we'll get to in a minute. I'm
still angry about.
Well, again, you'll get a minute to be super angry about it. We had Jessica Henwick as Colleen Wing. Again, VIP, should have been, the star of the show.
She
sadly isn't, though. Rosario Dawson, who also comes back for a almost secondary but pretty lead role in this one as well.
Yeah. And she does a good job of basically turning into Danny's therapist at one point.
Yeah, which no one deserves. Damn. Then we had Tom Pelphrey as Ward.
Who was great.
You had Jessica Stroup as Joy, who
was bad.
But I'm not sure that the acting is the fault of that.
She wasn't a bad actress, but her writing was
abysmal.
Was
not good. Yeah, Joy's writing was not good.
It was awful.
And then we had David Wenham as Harold, who I actually really enjoyed as a villain. I just feel like they kind of, he wrote him as a little hackneyed, and you could see the Frankenstein metaphor coming literally right away, because they literally call him that in Ward's phone.
He was kind of like a dumber version of Tywin, actually.
Yeah. Which, see, it always comes back to Tywin for you, doesn't it?
No, it always comes back to Game of Thrones for me.
Uh-huh. But, the last thing I saw David Wenham in was Lord of the Rings.
The last thing I saw him in was, that movie Australia.
Yeah, but you didn't like that movie.
No, I didn't. Baz. Huff.
And then secondary characters, we had Carrie Ann Moss, who deserved a better show than being called J Money in this one. She doesn't even feel like she's in character for most of this show because she's so toned down with Danny.
Yeah,
where she isn't with anyone else. And I'm like, why are you ass-kissing Danny more than you do anyone else? I don't understand.
She's, remarkably soft and gentle-handed with him.
She really is. It's like she still interprets him as that 11-year-old, which
maybe she does.
You also had Ramon Rodriguez as Bakudo, Sasha Dewan as Davos, and Wai Ching Ho as Gao, who actually ends up as a secondary character and not a cameo for once.
Mm-hmm.
And then this show didn't really have a lot of cameos. The most was, the Stan Lee photo that we keep pointing out and stuff.
I did actually like Davos.
Yeah, Davos was great.
Like,
everyone else in the show was great other than Danny.
He basically acted like Danny's spurned boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
But also
I don't even think that's subtext. It was just right there.
He also managed to really show just how repressed they are from the life that they led in that place. Like, even Claire points it out multiple times and was like, that isn't normal, guys.
I missed the director of photography. Give me a second. I went through this so quick, and I was just like, la la la.
Well, it's because you wanted to get it done, because we don't want to spend any more time on this than we absolutely have to.
Oh, they didn't mention it. I only know that, Bill, I already can't say his name.
Billette?
No, the guy that we just talked about in the last episode. I think it was... I don't think so. Hold up. We're gonna have a moment. I'm gonna pull up the old script. Hold up.
My God.
Hold up, everybody.
Oh my
I'm so sorry. Billiter. So we were both wrong. And both right a little bit.
We were both wrong and right.
He did the last 2 episodes, but didn't do the majority of the show.
Well, even he didn't want to be on this fucking show.
Yeah, but the show remarkably looks better at the tail end.
Yeah, it does. The last 2 episodes look better than the rest of the spot.
But the cinematography is where, and like the look of it and everything, is where I have the biggest breakdown of the show. Because, one, was the fact that when they go to, quote, China, the backdrop, like, we noticed this first off, and we're like, that backdrop looks like every other scene that they filmed along, like, the riverbanks in every one of these shows. Like, it looks like the background of The Punisher.
Yeah, because you can see the cranes in the distance across the water.
Which I know that they have in China, because there's a lot of industry and stuff, but what they did was they used the backdrop of a bridge in New Jersey for China. And then they just pasted some signs up on some old warehouses, and it just looks so bad.
Well, haven't you heard there's a new city in Jersey called China? So they went to China, New Jersey.
No, there's not. There's
not,
we went to New Jersey. Like garbage.
We went to New Jersey to get Madame Gao, and now we gotta go back.
I'm so mad. It was just like, this isn't even China. Like, how dare you?
I mean, we kept dunking on it when we found out.
Yeah, but like, we noticed
we're back from Jersey.
We noticed that it looked wrong before we ever got there. I'm like, there's not enough, like, crap in the air either. Like... It does, like, if you're gonna go with, like, the industrial parts of China or whatever, it should look like the industrial parts of China, but that's not what they were going for. They just wanted what they thought was a generic background, and it was not a generic background, it was New Jersey.
Well, also, you definitely didn't have enough skyscrapers either.
No! It just looked bad. Ugh. But then you also have...
No offense to the people who live in New Jersey.
No, it's just, it's not China.
No, it's not.
It's not. Like, you're substituting one place for another, and they don't look remotely the same.
I knew that the minute that I saw that they were isolating them in this little fucking lot, and I'm like, there's no way they filmed this in China. It's way too closed off.
They didn't even go to Georgia for Luke Cage, but at least that still managed to look better than this did. So, Brett Chan, who was the stunt coordinator on the show, noted that Jones had a very busy schedule. I'm not even sure we ever figure out why his schedule was so damn busy.
Yeah, because it's not like he was a major character in Game of Thrones.
Not anymore.
He was more of a side character at best anyway.
And, like, when was the season where Loras bites it?
That was season 6.
When was season 6? Hold up.
We're gonna look this up.
Sorry for the typing noises.
Typing ASMR.
2016. So this came out before, or no, this came out after. This came out a year after Game of Thrones ended. So he didn't even have that excuse.
Yeah, because he didn't even really show up in all the episodes anyway.
No, because he bites it pretty early.
No, actually,
Or like halfway through or something.
No, it's the Winds of Winter episode where Cersei blows up the Sept.
Oh, is it?
Spoilers.
But even then, like, okay, it's old. Like, I don't think we have to worry about spoilers for that anymore. But he still wasn't in it that much even leading up to
I
that.
wanna
And who
know.
knows, they probably didn't film it all in order either.
I want to know. I want to know what this fucking busy schedule was.
Right. And it was difficult to find time to train him in martial arts, obviously, because Brett Chan felt that it was a, quote, lifestyle and not something you can just pick up or train for every once in a while. True.
Mm-hmm.
Again, which is why they should have cast someone who already had a background in this, or who was willing to dedicate the time to do this. It's something you need to be really involved in. Again, yes. He did note, however, that Jessica Henwick showed up to train 6 hours every day, regardless of whether or not she was scheduled to.
And her character ended up being in Game of Thrones longer than Finn's.
At least she got more screen time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm just... You were the titular character.
This could have been your breakout starring
And you
role.
didn't want to fucking show up and do the training, bud.
What the fuck?
And he got so up in his own head.
I've said ass.
That too, about this show, and when people were critiquing his casting and everything else, and it's like, buddy, you didn't show up for the work, and they had to do Quantum of Solace level fight editing to get around the fact that you did not know what you were doing, and it looks like every time he's doing, like, those hand movements, it looks like he's doing a white kid parody of a kung fu movie that he saw when he was 10.
Yeah, it looks like he's mocking it.
Yeah, it does not look like he's doing any of these things with intention, because he wasn't there long enough to train in what any of that shit meant.
Yeah, he didn't know what it meant. He clearly didn't do the training. And yet you had, you got all huffy and shit when people questioned your casting, but then you did not put in any of the work to prove any of those naysayers wrong.
Nope, not a bit. Finn elaborated that he had 3 weeks before filming to train for the season. Again, why? Why was your schedule this busy? What exactly were you doing?
Yeah, what the hell were you doing?
Because Game of Thrones came out, like, pretty early 2016. Like, you had a year. What else were you working on? Like, damn, dude, if you're gonna be the titular superhero in a superhero show, I'd think that you'd make that a priority, like most of these other people do.
Like, this was a role that many other people most likely would have jumped into, like, immediately. And been
when
like,
the
I am
opening
training.
CGI sequence has better martial arts than the main character of a martial arts show.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, the best fighting that you're gonna see from Danny Rand is the CGI
is the
Danny
CGI
Rand.
Danny Rand at the beginning in the opening sequence.
Yes.
Which we didn't skip solely because
it was the best
it's
fighting.
the best fighting in the show if it wasn't Colleen doing it.
Yeah.
So he said during those 3 weeks, he would spend 2.5 hours a day training in martial arts before doing weight training in the afternoons. He did a whole 2.5 hours when Jessica was out here doing 6 hours a goddamn day, whether she was asked to or not.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, what the hell?
Yeah, no, try again.
Once filming began, Jones had a day and a half during weekends in which he would continue training, and then otherwise would have to learn fight choreography 15 minutes before filming an action sequence.
And it
fucking shows.
It shows.
He said that he described it as a baptism of fire and just learning on the job.
Oh,
no,
shut
it
up.
looks like a fucking joke because you don't know what you're goddamn doing.
Shut the fuck up, man.
Like,
Jason...
you are mocking all of these cultures, and when people called this out as racist, and you tried to, like, naysay them, all you did was prove them right.
Yeah, you proved them right, because every other fucking fighter in here, every other character who fought,
even the drunk dude,
did better than you.
And some of them have to, like, slow down, very obviously, to not outshine Danny, when it's like, no, he should be up to fucking your level, not the other way around.
Yeah.
What is happening?
All I could think of is how Jason Lee, when he was... I think it was Jason Lee, who played Bruce Lee in that movie, Enter the Dragonland, Bruce Lee's story. He got buffed.
Ripped.
Just ripped, and he was dedicated to that role.
Yeah.
And that's...
I mean, granted, he was a little closer to that, but still, if this is going to be, like, the one hallmark of your goddamn career, because it sure as hell was not Loris Tyrell.
No.
I like Loris Tyrell. I loved Loris Tyrell, but he is a secondary of a secondary character.
Yeah.
He is not really that important in the grand scheme of things.
It's really not.
Because if you're going to make that the tentpole of your career, you're going to be a character bit actor for the rest of your career.
This could have been
This could have been the thing that shot you up into stardom, like it did with most of these other people who, like, really feel like they were born to these roles. If you're going to replace any Defender, like, I don't want you to replace Kristen Ritter. I sure as hell don't want you to replace Mike Coulter. And we know we're not replacing Charlie Cox, because why the fuck would you?
Yeah.
But, like, if you replaced Finn, I would not feel even remotely bad about it.
If you give someone else the role of Danny Rand, please.
Please.
I'm begging you.
I won't even care. You don't have to call it anything different. Or just get rid of Danny and make everything about Colleen. I don't care.
Let Colleen be the Iron Fist.
Bad. It's all bad. This one barely connects to the larger MCU overall. It is one of the least connected. Again, it mentions the incident, I'm pretty sure, because everything does. It's more connected to Marvel Netflix, mainly because it has Hogarth and Temple in it. But for the most part, it doesn't even really connect to the... I think you mean Brandon Lee, hon.
No.
Are you?
Shush, don't look at what I'm doing.
I am.
No!
I am.
No, Brandon Lee was in The Crow.
Yeah, but...
Jason Scott Lee, there we go.
Okay, different Jason Lee, because I was like, the Jason Lee you're pulling up is not the Jason Lee that I think is the right person here. Wikipedia wants money.
No, fuck you.
Yeah, okay, I can see that, because I was like, you can't mean the Jason Lee that was in Mallrats.
Jason Scott Lee.
Okay.
My bad. I knew...
It's fine.
Look, I first saw him in The Jungle Book, okay?
That's fair.
But I knew
Didn't he
played...
get ripped for that, too?
Yes!
Yeah.
He was intensely ripped for Mowgli.
Mm-hmm.
Damn! And then he jumped down a waterfall.
Yeah, like, this barely connects even to, like, Marvel Netflix. I think there's one mention of Jessica Jones as a PI who was acerbic, as usual, when Joy went to go talk to her.
Yeah, and she got all those pictures.
And she got all the pictures for Joy. And then, like, the only other connections are Hogarth and Claire.
Yes.
We don't really talk about much else. It's not really connected to much else. Danny is not connected with the world or the story very much, really. I mean, okay, so it has the hand. But again, it's one of those where I'm like, if you rewrote this show and moved most of the hand stuff to Iron Fist instead of Daredevil Season 2.
Yeah.
Also, Danny feels like a character who more organically would fit
fighting
with
the hand.
Stick.
Yeah, and fighting the hand.
Yeah. But we didn't do any of that, and so, like, we still made Daredevil do all of it, and it still, like, it was a detriment to both shows.
Yeah, see, look at how much...
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And then look at this. Mm-hmm. Look at how ripped he is in The Jungle Book.
Finn didn't do that. He kept trying to show off, and I'm like, you still look too skinny. Sorry.
Yeah, you look way too skinny. Shut up. Put your shirt back on.
So the soundtrack is composed by Trevor Morris, who we've gone over before. He wanted it to feel modern. It doesn't. I forgot the score completely. Sorry. And the rap that they constantly keep, like, shoehorning into the show, because Danny had an iPod and he was listening to this gangster rap at 11.
As a child. That's
I'm sorry,
bullshit.
He shouldn't have been listening to any of that at 11.
No.
But
I really find that a hard pill to swallow.
Extremely sus.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it doesn't feel like it feels incredibly out of place all the time, because, like, what they're trying to do is cop Luke Cage's style without having any of the substance. It's actually, like, offensive, because it just adds another layer of Danny appropriating some other marginalized culture.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I'm just like, Danny, knock it off, I hate this.
Well, I mean, yeah, white people can like rap music, but it feels incredibly forced here.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is it just adds another layer onto it. Like, if it had been used as for a purpose, I wouldn't have cared. But I just want
to clarify that we're not saying people can't like the music. It just felt incredibly forced here, and almost like they were trying to give a reason for, like, Danny and Luke to bond, when it's like they don't need that to bond because they're gonna be bros anyway.
Yeah, but also, like, again, if your story mark for this is going to tell me that this kid is listening to So Fresh, So Clean at 11, at 11,
You almost made me spit my drink.
Like, yeah, those better be fucking radio edits on your iPod, kid. Are you serious? Did you get those? He got them from Ward. Let's be real. This is my headcanon now, is he got all this from Ward.
And Ward just blares it loud in his room.
Yeah.
While his dad beats on his door, telling him to turn that shit off.
Exactly. Like that Vine where they're playing Nicki Minaj and the mom's just like, no!
No! While she keeps saying, eat my ass. Like, no!
Exactly that. But I'm just
Same
like,
energy.
Your story mark here doesn't even make sense for it. It's not steeped in the culture.
No, it
it's
doesn't.
Just this, like, it's just so people can be like, oh, you were pretty hard as a kid, huh?
No, he wasn't. He was a little freaking white boy with long hair. Shut up.
Well, and that's what makes it feel appropriative, because there's no purpose for it. It doesn't feel like there is a purpose for it. There's no story purpose for it. There's no character purpose for it. You just did it because Luke Cage was so successful.
Yeah, you did that. But you know what? You know what I just realized?
What?
He looks like he belongs. He looks like he belongs in the band where they sing Mba.
Hanson?
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
He does. He looks like the fourth member of Hanson.
He also, like, a lot of his clothing before Jerry actually gives him clothes. He feels like he belongs in that Lonely Island skit, Ross Trent, where he's, like, pretending to be the Rasta guy, and everyone's just, like,
he just
cringing away from him because he's just that white kid who wants to be a Rastafarian so fucking bad.
Yeah, you know, you've probably seen them on a dozen college campuses during the 90s.
He was just missing the bad, shitty dreads. That was it. That was it. That was all he was missing.
No, instead he had a bad, shitty beard.
Oh my god.
He's just a dirty...
Namaste.
He was just a dirty-looking hippie.
He's, like, the epitome of, like, entitled white people in the wellness culture appropriating all of, like, Buddhist everything.
Yeah.
I'm so zen. Namaste. Like,
no,
those people that take yoga and thinks it makes them, like, super duper enlightened and, like, they can just teach it to everybody because they are an expert.
You putting on yoga pants and farting yourself through a yoga class does not make you enlightened. It might make you feel a little better.
Danny's a Karen. So, overall rating, now that I've said that, overall rating for Iron Fist Season 1. Knowing that Danny is a Karen. He's a Karen.
I know. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5, only because I'm giving 1 star to Colleen and 1 star to Ward's writing and Ward's actor, because those two stood out to me as the best things about this show.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's really...
Yep. I agree with you.
There's very little that is redeeming in this show. And it's such a slog to get through.
Yeah, it's like the only thing that saves it are the secondary characters, and through the whole thing you're basically just like,
why aren't they the main
are you
characters?
Here? Why are you being saddled with this? You don't deserve this.
I liked that sword duel in the rain. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, all of Colleen's fighting.
Yeah, Colleen's fighting.
All of her MMA shit, I'm very into it.
Very into it.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, step on me. Yeah,
she
mama.
murdered some men, and I was like, yes, mama, do it!
Yeah, I agree. Star for that alone. Starred for War alone. I will agree with you at a 2, because there's not much else going for this.
There's really not.
It's rough.
Oh, and Claire in booty shorts.
Yeah, I mean, we can include that with Colleen, because that's usually the scene she was in. So, thank you for listening to this episode of Fansplained.
Thank you for listening to us yell and scream
about this terrible show. It's over!
Thank God.
If you enjoy what we do, God, I'm sorry, consider donating on Coffee. We would appreciate it, even though we just sat here and yelled and screamed. Everything we make goes back to the production quality of the show. You know, this fine thing where we just complain about something for an hour. We appreciate all of our subscribers and everything you do, and we're thankful for anything from Hulk smashing that like button, or, I don't know, using appropriate kung fu when you actually practiced and know what you're doing, to your questions and comments on each episode, and especially sharing the show with your friends. Fansplained is a weekly media criticism and deep dive podcast, and next episode we're actually taking a hiatus from the MCU, because Phase 3 is a lot of TV,
yes.
And we just went through a lot of TV, and it was really exhausting.
It was a lot. We managed to go through, 4 different seasons in almost a month.
In about a month, and that's why it's taken so long to get to these, is we just decided to watch instead of watch and record and watch and record.
Yeah.
So instead of that, we need a little tone break, and so instead of that, we'll see you again in 25 episodes instead of 25 years as we begin Twin Peaks. Spoiler, I don't actually know if it'll be 25 episodes, but it was funny and it's a reference, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can find our updates here on YouTube as well as on Twitter and Coffee at FANSPLAINED. If you want more of our conversations on the MCU and other fandoms, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for new episode notifications. Until next time, Salt Shakers, this has been Ryan.
And,
with the Fansplained podcast. And we'll see you next week.
With something different. And better.
And better.